another layout. This one I was in the mood to play. So I pulled out, sorry, I'm just fixing my book so I know what I'm doing. Okay, so this particular layout I am using an old collection. I'm going to call it an old collection, which is the Dear Lizzy Stay Colourful. I thought I'd go for a bit of a dumpster dive into my own collections and use something I haven't touched in a very long time. So it's a 6x6 paper pad, and I believe, oh look, I have no idea where I even got it from. I don't even know if you can still get it. So at the moment you can see me using some Distress Oxides and a little bit of water just to get some colour onto this page. Now I'm using spun sugar and tumbled glass. They are the lightest shades of all of the Distress Oxides, if I'm being honest. They're the lightest shades you can get, and I'm just getting some colour on the page. Now at first I'm just doing like the kissing technique where you just kiss the plastic to the paper and it spreads out big time. And now what I'm doing is I'm coming in with some scrunched up plastic. Now the reason I use scrunched up plastic is it naturally picks up the Distress Oxide ink. Because it's a wet medium, it only picks it up in certain spots because it's not flat. So I end up getting a more controlled splatter sort of look. That's what I like to do with it. And it's still just the packaging technique. That it is that, but it's just slightly different because I scrunch up the plastic. And see how with the scrunched up plastic, see how it's leaving, I'm not getting a whole splodge when I put the plastic down. I'm getting they're not dots, they're blobs. Are we going to call them blobs? What do you reckon? So yeah, so I'm just doing the spun sugar through the center, and I've done the tumbled glass to the top and the bottom. That's when I realized I need to have a bit more contrast because spun sugar on its own is a little bit pale and pasty for me. So I'm coming in with a little bit of, I think that was Festive Berries. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was Worn Lipstick, because I do come in with Festive Berries. And I'm using my fan brush. Now, I'm being super controlled and I'm tapping very gently. I'm not letting my brush, my right hand is holding the brush very firmly and I'm just tapping it with my finger. That's how I get these little teeny tiny splatters. That way, they kind of, to me, it's more controlled. I don't end up with splats all up my wall. I don't end up with splats all over my laptop because that's usually in front of me, or my iPad. And believe me, I have, if there's anything I own, especially electronics, if it's in this room, guaranteed it's got ink or glitter or mica spray. I'm not even kidding. I'm so bad at it, but oh well. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? You can't sort of do anything about it, but that's okay. So so this is Festive Berries. This is when, once I dried it down, there sort of wasn't enough contrast. I wanted the splats not to be the same colour as underneath. I wanted them to be a little bit bolder. So at the top, over the blue, I used Salty Ocean. And no, I did not use Mermaid Lagoon, and I used Festive Berries. So that was the pink and the blue tone. Now, I love this particular piece of cardstock, and guess what? This is all I've got left. So I have to MacGyver myself some photo matting. And because it's directional, it's got lines going a certain direction. You can't just twist it and put it however you want. So it took a little bit, but I got there in the end and I lined up the lines and it looked right. So then what I decided to do was hopefully move the layout back under the camera. That would make more sense. So then what I wanted to do was, this was my idea from the beginning. I wanted to put some arrows fishtail, you know, like the end of the arrow, there's a fishtail. I wanted to do something like that. Now, oh, excuse me, I'm literally, the old hay fever thing's kicking in and it's driving me crazy. It's actually been quite warm here today, so it's been warm and now it's cooling down, and as it's doing that, my nose is getting really stuffy, but it's hay fever and my eyes are itchy and oh, that's all right. Okay, so here what you see me doing is I pulled out my Distress inks. Now I pulled out Tumbled Glass and Salty Ocean. The reason I use those, now there is a reason for this. The black spots that you can see on the paper, so I didn't have a blue that would go with the other colours. So I pulled out the Distress inks. The reason I did that and I didn't use the Distress Oxide that I already had on the desk is because Distress inks are transparent. So you can see straight through them and therefore I can still see my black dots. So because it was on a white, that way I was able to create the blue shade that I wanted. So don't ever look at your stuff and think it's the wrong shade or the wrong whatever. If you've got ink or you've got paint, or water-based paint, any of that sort of thing, you can change the color of what you've got, especially if it's black and white spots. You can quite easily just use an ink and drag that across. I'm sorry if you can hear that car. Someone thinks their car sounds amazing, obviously. So it's a little annoying, but that's all right. Now, all I'm doing is cutting some fishtails and cutting some arrowheads and just having a bit of a play. Now, Angela in this photo she's got a stripy shirt on, and that's what I'm sort of using as a colour palette. She does have a sort of watermelon coloured stripe in there, but as you can see when I go along here and I create all these arrows and fishtails and all that sort of thing, the green and the darker pink colour, they just don't work. Even though she's got them in her shirt, and that's what I was trying to do, I was trying to pull that colour forward, I end up ditching those arrows because it didn't work. It wasn't looking right, and I struggle with it when it's like that. It's either a yeah nah or a nah yeah, and it was a yeah nah. Chuck it out. Get rid of it. Don't do it. And that's it. And that's what you got to do. You've got to be able to, when you're scrapping, I'll give you a piece of advice. When you're scrapping, you either love it or you hate it. And your first instinct, if you're sitting there staring at your page going, oh, does it work? Do I love it? Do I like it? If your answer to any of those questions is no, I don't, or I like that bit, but that bit doesn't seem like it's working, stop, remove it, and shake it up a bit. Just sort of go, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have a quick look. It's not working. Mic drop. Get rid of it. Doesn't mean you have to throw the arrows away. You can use them on something else, right? Or if you're doing circles or triangles or diamonds or whatever it is you might be doing, if it's not working almost straight away, time is too precious. Don't sit there procrastinating over a layout for days on end because you just can't get that one bit of paper to quite look right. It's one of those things, sometimes it just takes, like in this case, just pull the green out, pull the watermelon out and see if you can make it work just with the pink and the blue. And because all I've done is pink and blue in the background, of course, it comes together then. So it's at that point it starts coming together. So as much as I'm having a field day fiddling, I'm pretty confident you guys are sick of watching me put things in and pull things out and move it up to the top and bring it down to the bottom. But this is how you develop as a scrapbooker. This is one of those things where you just go, it needs to just, you need to audition things as well. That's another really important tip. If you are not auditioning bits and pieces on your layout, and by auditioning I mean put it on there, see if it works. If it doesn't quite work, pull it off and stick something else on there. That will show you why it's not working. Why not? Give it a crack. See what happens. Worst case scenario, you put it back on and go, doesn't look great, but you know what? It'll do. I'm happy with it'll do sometimes. This particular layout sort of took me through a little bit of a journey trying to figure out whether it was going to stay like this. As you can see, I'm bringing in the glue. And once you put that art glitter glue down, I'm telling you, you can't move it. You've got yourself about 15 seconds. It's winter here, so you got about 15 seconds. And once it's sort of hit that point, nah, you can't. You've got to ditch it. You can't do anything with it. You can't lift it up again. So I decided that my background still needed a little bit more texture. The splatters look cute, but I wanted some more texture. So I found one of my older stencils. I don't even know where it came from. It is however many years old. It was probably one that I got with a bunch of them that I think I might have bought from Wish or something like that 5 or 10 years ago. So I have no clue. I genuinely have no clue where I got it from. Now I'm just drying off that Lunar paste, and it doesn't take very long. Honestly, you don't really need the heat tool if you're just scrapping. Like, you could get up and go and make a coffee and come back and it'll be dry. In summer it dries even quicker. So I'm much happier with that. I think the stenciling in the background gives it somewhere to be grounded, like it's sort of hanging on to it. So that worked. Now I'm just raising up the photos on some craft foam. Sorry, I have to keep drinking. This is like the third voiceover I've done in the last hour. So my throat's starting to get dry. Everything's starting to dry out, but that's okay. Now I am just adding a little bit of craft foam under all these little arrow bits just to hold them up, give them something to hang on to, because they're not going to obviously reach to be glued. So I am doing that and gluing that puppy down. Now I should have, before I did catch it before I glued it onto the 12 by 12, but I wanted to run around all these arrows with a black pen. Now I'm using my fine point. It's a 0.7mm black Posca paint pen, and it just gives the arrows something more to it just defines them. It gives them a bit more definition on the page and allows them to sort of come forward in the layout rather than just melting into the background of the layout. So FYI though, try doing this before you put the foam on there. For crying out loud, you'd swear I've been scrapbooking for 5 minutes, not 20 years. So let it be known that I do it too. We all do it. So now I decided to pull in. Don't mind the glue on my hand. It just makes it easier. So I don't condone putting glue on any body parts, but that's just what works for me. And especially when I'm gluing down a lot of things in a row. Now I'm using thickers. These are the new ones that I bought this week, and they're called COLOURFUL, and I picked them up from Indrapilli spotlighted Injapilli, and they were like $3.25. So I bought 3 or 4 packets of them because, you know, you got to have enough. And yeah, they're really good. They're not super thick, so they don't really add a lot of bulk to your page. But you know me, I love a good long title. So for me, these things just work a treat. And it doesn't matter if you look at the colours and go, oh yeah, but I don't like those colours. I'm telling you, if you buy them for $3.25, you can paint them. You can put LUNAR paste on them. You can put stencil butter on them. You can put gesso over them. You can use embossing powder on them. You can... What else can you use on them? Your alcohol markers, they would work on there. Posca paint pen, that works on there as well. So yeah. Now I'm just going around the border, giving it a faux stitched border, and I absolutely love doing those. They just, for me, it just makes the layout. I absolutely love it. It's adorable. So yeah, so that's all coming in together now, and it's all starting to make sense. Now I've introduced the black on the border. I've got the black on the arrows, but I'm still missing my third bit of black, and this is where I just make the decision. This is where I'm going to get my third lot of black from. And here it is. I'm going to go over my titles and just do a single line. You can still see the colour around it, but it gives me the opportunity, 1, to add a bit more black, and 2, because the titles have like yellow in them and green in them, by doing this over the top, you're really only noticing the pink. It sort of is hiding the yellow and the green, which is not in the layout anywhere. It's all pink and blue. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I like to do on a layout, and I encourage you to give this a crack because it really can lift a page from yeah, it looks alright, took me 4 hours and that's how it looks, you know, because we all do that. I do the same thing. Some layouts, I actually started a different layout. I think it goes up on Saturday. I think it was going on Saturday. And I did a completely different beginning to that video, and I ditched it. I haven't thrown it out because I'll use it for something else. But yeah. So here's the close-up for you guys. All the yummy goodness, and that's the homemade shimmer gel that I make with the gum arabic that I use there. And if you're getting value out of my videos, please smash that like button and subscribe if you have not already subscribed. It is free and it lets you know when I load up my 6 videos every week. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye for now.